I grew up as a female athlete, and I think that helped me learn a lot about myself and about how I want to be in my future when I'm no longer an athlete. Um, but there was times when playing with men that those lessons were almost unimportant. I was put into a lot of dangerous situations because of the lack of care for my safety. For those of you that have a daughter in sports, I encourage you to think about her when listening to this and her safety as an athlete. How would you feel knowing that you are putting her in a more dangerous position just to make less than 1% of the population happy with their decision? Being a female hockey player, I grew up in a male dominated sport, and I did end up having to play boys ice hockey to get the proper skills and training that I needed to become a better athlete. A lot of the things that I learned was because I was playing with men. They are faster and they are stronger, and it was a much easier process, and it was much more demanding to play with men. However, that came with a lot of drawbacks. Boys hockey is a lot more dangerous. The rules that they play with, they're the same rules, but when it comes to hitting and contact, they are different in completely different sides of the spectrum. Women are not allowed to hit in ice hockey, but men are. And if you are a woman playing in men's hockey, I played co-ed, so I was playing with majority boys. There was maybe 3 girls on a team. Playing co-ed, you get targeted as a woman. And I'm not saying that I didn't put myself in that situation. However, I think that a lot of the times that I was put into those dangerous situations, the refs and the coaches did not do anything about it. My safety was the last of their priorities. I have had several concussions, several pulled muscles, almost broken bones. I think I've broken fingers. I've done numerous injuries because the men did not care about my safety. That was the last thing on their mind. And if you think hard and long about it, how would you feel if you were forced to play with somebody who was stronger than you? I want you to think about that. If you had a daughter and you had to watch her get injured because a man felt the need to target her in a game, I was targeted by one guy in a game. The whole game, he was going out for my neck. I had a stick up to my neck. I had skates. He was throwing the puck at me on purpose, not even playing the game of hockey anymore. That says a lot, and I really think that it's an important piece to this topic. This has been a discussion going on for countless years now, I think. One of the biggest things that did happen was in 2022 when the collegiate athlete Leah Thomas was awarded the NCAA championship for the women's 500 freestyle over Riley Gaines, and that caused a lot of controversy. Riley Gaines had also won the same title, but it was given to Leah Thomas. And I think the biggest takeaway from that is that Leah Thomas in the men's division, I believe the year prior, was not even top 500 in the men's 500 freestyle, and decided to switch over into the women's and was transitioning and beat out the competition by a landslide. That doesn't seem fair to me. That's not fair. That's taking away somebody's winning, but you're not actually as good as you say you are. In 2023, a trans athlete in Massachusetts injured a female field hockey player after throwing a ball at her head and knocking her teeth out. And that's in 2022, a North Carolina volleyball player suffered serious injury and was knocked unconscious after a trans-identified male player spiked a ball, hitting her in the head, causing her a head injury. This just proves my point of how dangerous it generally is for trans women to participate in female sports. Men have greater cardiovascular reserve, larger hearts, larger lungs per body mass, higher red blood cell counts, higher hemoglobin, and greater muscle mass. It is a statistic. It is the truth. Whatever you want to say, no matter how much you transition, you will still biologically have those chromosomes. You cannot change that. And I think that that does cause a lot of issues because women have fought so long to get their own things, especially in sports right now. As you can see, the WNBA is just now finally getting off their feet. The women are finally getting paid. The PWHL has finally just made its hump over, and it's finally created something, and they're getting paid to play this sport, and this is something that's amazing, and it's starting something new, a whole new trend, a whole new uprising. A whole new generation of women are able to continue playing on in their sport past college, and I think that the fact that that has been created is amazing. But to take it away from women and to say, oh, well, if you're a biological man but you identify as a woman, you're now allowed to participate. But there is so many instances where that has caused nothing but harm for the female players. We have done so much as female athletes to fight for the rights that we have gotten and to fight for what we have, and to subside that and act as though it doesn't matter because of this less than 1% of the population that is transgender does not seem fair to me. I think if they want to participate, that is perfectly okay. But when it comes down to the statistics and the facts and the science behind it, it's not fair. I know me personally, if I had somebody do that and I was in Riley Gaines' position, I would be just as furious as she was, and I would go out and I would try and do everything I could to remedy that. And she did an amazing job. She is fighting for the rights of female athletes. I think if we want to have the equality that everybody keeps talking about, this is a step in the right direction. I understand, wanting to be inclusive, but there's also just a safety factor to it. I know I did not enjoy being injured and not having people care about my safety all because I was a woman. That doesn't seem fair. Life is not fair, but I think if you can make something fair, then that is perfectly acceptable. And I think for those of you that are listening, I genuinely encourage you to think about your daughters, your nieces, your cousins, any female athletes that you know. They deserve the same respect and the courtesy as male athletes. Like, we have been put on the back burner. We've been told that our sports are less interesting to watch because they're not as contact or they're not dangerous enough. It's not fair putting these athletes in a greater position to be injured. I think when it comes from an ice hockey standpoint, I do believe that women should be allowed to have full contact, but that also comes with being able to protect them from harm from a man. Yes, we can get injured in our own female sports. I've been injured in my girls' hockey league, but I think when it comes down to is the safety of it, I don't personally want to put myself in harm's way, and I know that those of you who have a daughter would not also want to put yourself in harm's way. My father had to sit through hockey games of me getting practically beaten up by these men, and nobody did anything about it. Nobody stopped them. They didn't get in trouble for it. It was like my safety just didn't matter, only theirs mattered, and that's not fair. Yes, women are not as biologically strong, but I think we should still be considered as humans, as people. We make up 50 to 50% of the population. It's not the same as we're not the same as men, and that's okay, but I think there needs to be adjustment to it. But it's not fair to come in and take something from us that we've worked very hard for and fought for so many years to have for ourselves. I am so immensely proud of the women that have fought for the sports and the athletes, and the younger women that get to look up and say, oh, well, I get to do that now, especially with the PWHL. That being created has made waves in the hockey community, being a male-dominated sport, being able to go play professionally now. That is an absolutely amazing accomplishment, and it is not fair to take it away from us. We are equals. We are human. We do the same. We are all on the same wavelength. I would even compare it to, let's say you are putting in all this time at work to get a promotion, and someone just so happens to, let's say, be related to the boss, and now they get that promotion over you because they have an advantage. It's not a physical advantage, but in the same premise, they have an advantage over you. And now they use that. And even though you worked harder, you did this, you did that, you did all the right steps to get to where you were. And you end up like Riley Gaines and getting sideswiped by the NCAA and getting your title taken because somebody else, they specifically came out and said, oh, well, we gave it to them because it just looked better. And right, like that's, you would be upset as that. It's the same thing for us. I personally, if I was in Riley Gaines' position, I would be upset. I worked very hard to be as good at my sports as I was, and I know what it feels like to constantly feel as though my accomplishments have been sideswiped by somebody else because they've had an advantage. I see it almost as the same thing. I've had a coach's kid come in and take something from me that I felt that I worked hard for or I did more for. And that's not how sports should be. It made it miserable. It made it not enjoyable for me. I stopped playing because of it. And I think if we can remedy some of that and make it so that future generations, younger women, your daughters, your nieces, your cousins, all of them can have an enjoyable experience when they play, that is the biggest thing for me, is making sure that the future generations of female athletes get to enjoy the sports, because I know what it's like to not enjoy them, and I would hate to see the future generations slowly dwindle down. We are trying to build something great, and I'm all here for it, and I need all of you to be here for it as well. I think it is an amazing topic, and I'm very happy to speak on it. I love being an athlete, especially a female athlete. The things that you get out of it are completely different than being a male athlete, and that alone, being in such a smaller knit group, just is amazing. And I would encourage all of you to think about it and think about how your future daughter might feel, or how your daughter now might feel if how would you feel watching her get her title stripped away from her, or watching her get injured, or even worse, dying from an injury, because that has happened before, where they've been so brutally injured in boxing or whatever the case may be. I just want you to take a second and think about the women and the women in your life that are female athletes, and think about how their career could look.